Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. My name is Avery Watson, and today I have the privilege of representing the defendant, Peter Jones. You've been called upon here today to decide whether Peter is guilty of assault while hunting. The prosecution wants you to believe that Peter acted with intent to cause harm. But the law requires more than just harm. It requires proof of intent beyond a reasonable doubt, and the evidence in this case will show no intent because there was none. Now let's begin with the law itself. Assault is not established simply because someone was injured. For an act to rise to the level of criminal assault, there must be intent, which is a deliberate decision to cause harm. Without intent, a charge cannot stand. This is what draws the line between an accident and a crime. Now let's turn to what the evidence of this case will demonstrate. The facts will show that Peter followed ordinary practices of a lawful hunter. He was not reckless, nor was he hostile. The prosecution may suggest negligence or carelessness, but even if that were to be true, negligence is not the same thing as intent. The difference matters, and that is the line that separates an accident from a crime. On the evening of the accident, Peter and his friend Joe set up a few empty beer cans on rocks behind Joe's house to practice shooting. While Joe was nearby, Peter noticed a wild turkey in the field. Acting on his own instinct, he raised his rifle, but in that split second, the gun slipped from his hands, the safety was off, and the weapon fired. The bullet then struck Joe in the arm. However, I want you to consider the law that you'll hear today, Assault While Hunting, Section 208A. It says that a person is only guilty if they are pursuing wild game and they caused the injury through criminal negligence with a dangerous weapon. Each part of this law is very important in this case, and for all to be true, then it would make it more than an accident, but in this case, they are not. The evidence show that Peter's conduct does not meet the standard. Peter was not in pursuit of wild game, therefore this was an accident. Finally, let's consider the state's burden. They must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Peter intended to assault another person. This is not a suggestion, not a possibility, but proof to the highest legal standard that we have. Now, when you weigh the testimony and the evidence that you'll hear today, you will find uncertainty, unanswered questions, and an absence of that intent. And when there is doubt, the law requires a verdict of not guilty. So, I ask, as you listen to the witnesses, examine the evidence, remember this. The question before you today is not whether harm occurred, but it is whether Peter intended to cause that harm and did so through criminal negligence. To which the answer is no. The law demands proof of intent beyond a reasonable doubt. The state cannot meet that burden because Peter did not act with intent. And at the end of this trial, the only just conclusion will be to find Peter not guilty. Thank you for your time.